You're still watching TVC Breakfast. Now, the girl child continues to face major challenges from poor access to education, early marriage, and gender-based violence to unequal opportunities in many communities. Despite progress in recent years, many girls are still denied their right to learn, grow, and participate fully in society. Now, advocates are calling for stronger policy, better protection, and sustained investment in education and healthcare to ensure that every girl has a fair chance to succeed. Joining us in the studio for this conversation is Executive Director Hazy Rhoda Robinson, while in our Abuja studio we have founder AI Foundation, Ronke Adiagbo. Good morning, how are you doing? Good morning.
Good morning.
How's it going? All right, thank you so much for joining us. We have our live in our Abuja studio, and we also have Rhoda right here with us. Good morning once again to you. I love the fact, I'll start with you because we're in the studio with you. I love the fact that we're speaking about the girl child because oftentimes I'll take you to the northern parts of the country. We see a lot of girl children. We see the early marriages. We see a lot of them out of school. A lot of people have normalized early marriages, that even the mothers of these children are the ones saying that they should go and marry. Now, we're not even talking about marrying their mates. We're talking about them marrying people older than them. And it's quite scary. You look at the future of these children. Before somebody turns 14, she has 3 or 4 children, which is scary. We tell people that girls, there's a lot we have to offer. It's not just about marriages. You know, we can go to school, we can succeed, we can do well. So quickly with what you do, I just want to pick your brain on this. How are we able to eradicate the fact that we have a lot of girls out of school? And most importantly, I want to deal with the early marriage.
Okay, so as you said, in Nigeria, girls face a lot of intersecting barriers from their access to education, to their agency, their rights, being able to live free from violence and have the necessary supports that they need to live full and productive lives. Now, because of gender stereotypes and the way our society is fashioned, a lot of a girl thinks about her future. Yeah. She only thinks it past a certain point. And after that point, the next best thing is marriage. In situations where a girl is faced with not just only being a girl, but she's now in an environment where that is affected by poverty. Maybe she's living in a rural community or she's living in a slum community. You find that she's more pressured to drop out of school early. We have a dropout rate of more than 20% of girls who start primary school not moving to secondary school. A lot of times they are forced to contribute financially and take on more responsibilities at home, so that they start preparing for an adult life while they are still children, and they do not see a future after that point. So we need to start focusing on how we can ensure that girls can see that there is more to life than marriage, especially at that age. We need to show them that their value transcends beyond just keeping the home, but they are integral parts of a functioning, highly successful society. And they need to be able to take equal parts in the decision-making in society. They need to be accounted for when we are creating social protection systems. They need to be accounted for when we are creating basic social supports and infrastructure to ensure that the barriers that prevent them from accessing those opportunities, accessing those platforms, we are addressing it, and there is an equity instilled in society to make sure that girls can participate effectively.
Okay, my question will go to you, Ronke Adiagbo. From everything we have read, everything we've heard, and so on, for you to succeed in what you're doing, you need a lot of advocacy, a lot of it. And and I'm talking about the kind of advocacy that is two-way, one to the people, one to the government. How would you assess your success rate as far as advocacy is concerned?
Yeah, thank you for that question. As an organization, we make it one of our strategic strands to make sure we are advocates for the girl child, because it's important that we shout it from the rooftop that these girls need to be protected. There needs to be safeguarding for these girls to make sure they can access education and to make sure they are not being used as an economical tool by their families. And we've been advocating as well for the government to actually put legislation in place to protect these girls, because without a doubt they are vulnerable, and if we do not protect them as a nation, then we have ourselves to blame. So it's important that we keep on holding the feet of the government to the fire to make sure girls are protected. I mean, Chibok girls is a scar on the conscience of this country, and we should make sure that doesn't happen again. Therefore, we need to put preventative measures in place to make sure the girl child is protected.
What is your success rate of this advocacy? How is government listening to you, and what has government done to show that they are taking you seriously?
In a way, the government is showing some political will, but I just think it's a bit too little, too late. The government needs to do more, because we've taken it upon ourselves to actually pick girls up from the street and put them in school. And we are telling the government that you need to do more than that. For starters, I would like to see legislation to prevent any girl child from hawking on the street. Because when these girls are hawking on the street, they are more vulnerable to men sexually harassing them. So I would like to see something like that, and we've been talking to the government and to the legislators to put such legislation in place to make sure the girl child are protected. So far, we haven't made much progress, but I'm sure with a bit of persuasion and more advocacy, the penny will drop, and hopefully this law will come into place and the girl child will be protected in Nigeria.
Yeah, I've had several opportunities to speak with Ronke Adiagbo, and even yourself over the years, regarding, girl child. And I understand that several times, oftentimes we bring up the data by the UNICEF, by the World, all those international organizations saying that 30 million out of school children are not even in school. They're not even doing anything to go back to school, even though with the schools, safe school initiatives and all of that. But I'm also concerned about the threats that are facing the girl child. Talk about FGM, talk about child marriage, which Ria mentioned, talk about sexual violence, lack of health services. Which of these is actually causing lifelong damage to the girls, and why?
I think when you look at it, everything causes lifelong damage. You'd mentioned about international organizations working with governments and people in creating data, bringing out data on what the state of girl child looks like. At Haste, we work directly with girls. And I'm saying this from a lived perspective from most of these girls that we work with in our safe spaces in local community. And you find that a lot of times what prevents them from actually going out is nobody really takes them seriously. They don't have the agency to actually say that, oh, I do not want this, or I want to be able to go to school, or I want to be able to read this course, or I do not want to actually focus on this part, or I want to focus on my education. They don't have this agency. But when you start building their confidence, giving them a platform for them to talk about their needs, share their challenges, build the capacity in them to actually lead the change that they want to see, you find out that you have a different perspective of what this thing is, and more people actually paying attention. And when you're looking at issues of FGM, in recent cases, over the last couple of years, we've worked a lot on FGM in the global south, in southern Nigeria as well, because we have the highest case of FGM. Yeah,
I think in Osun.
Yes, Osun, Oyo, so, and in the southeast as well, right? And you find out that this happens while they are less than 5 years old. A lot of times, within the ages of 0 to 3 months, they've already been caught. So they are not given the choice at all in that space. FGM causes lifelong, both medical, emotional, and psychological trauma for young girls, as well as when they become women. Now, if you look at education, a woman who has not been able to go to school, she has less opportunity to provide for her family. She even push for her children, her girls, to actually go to school as well. So you see the trend in different perspectives, different dimensions. They all have lasting negative impacts on women. So they all have they need equal focus. They need equal level of legislation that prevents them from being perpetrated against girls. They need equal level of, investment. To say that we need to actually start implementing. Nigeria has a lot of policies and a lot of laws. We have the Child Rights Act, we have the Domestic Violence Act in different states. We have laws that are specifically designed to prevent this child marriage and FGM and all this harmful traditional practice. But when you look at implementation of these laws, that's where we have issues. When we have communities who say that you cannot dictate to me how our culture is supposed to run, or how our culture is supposed to take care of us, that's where you have issues. So we need to start training community gatekeepers, because that's what we do. We train those community gatekeepers to be able to say that you have to invest in girls. Girls are the future. You cannot keep them in a certain silo and then only bring them out when it's time for reproduction.
Of course, definitely not. But let me come to you, Ronke, in our Abuja studio. Can you hear me? So there's something that really hurts me. There was a research that came out that even said that a lot of girl children in the rural areas did not even understand what menstruation is. And now I want to talk about their welfare, you know, which is very important, health and welfare. Some of them did not even understand what it was, you know, and we have these children, they now get different diseases just because they're not even able to take care of themselves. You have spoken, you said, you know, there's a lot the government can do, but, you know, what are some of the things that can be put in place to make sure that even their health and their wellness is taken off? You know, we speak about education, which is very important. I really feel like we're not doing enough for our girl children, especially the ones in the rural areas, because some of them do not even understand anything. They are just there waiting to marry one old man and give birth to a lot of children, which is not supposed to be. Some of them are very intelligent. Some of them are future lawyers, doctors. Some of them are even future presidents. So what are we doing in this aspect? Do you think that it's just talk, 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 and no action is being taken?
Yeah. So one of the things we've been doing is we've been going to schools and having a campaign in terms of girls' health education. So in terms of, especially during their menstrual cycle, as you know, some of them find it very painful and they don't go to school. Yeah. And some of them don't even have the funds, because of poverty, to actually buy menstrual material to use during their periods. So what we've been doing is we've been going to schools and actually handing it out to them for them to use, and also raising their awareness in terms of their own health. Because as a girl, you know, they need to take very, very good care of themselves, especially when they're on their menstrual cycle. And also as a woman who will be reproducing children in future, it's important that you take care of yourself to make sure you do not have complications in future. So it's about awareness, having campaigns in school and catching them young, because girls as young as 10 are starting to see their period. So if you start educating them as young as that age, they will be able to have a better appreciation of what to do to take care of themselves as they grow older, and they don't need to go after men to ask for money to buy sanitary wares. So these are some of the things we've been doing in schools with girls.
But how enough are we doing it? You know, I know that we're doing it, but how far are we pushing it? Because we still have a lot of, you know, people that do not even get this information you're talking about. We still have a lot of people that do not even get the sanitary, you know, pads you said you're giving out. How far are we pushing this?
Yeah, I think this, as a government, local authorities who are responsible for schools, they must try and find a way to incorporate this into the curriculum for the girls in terms of health education. Because NGOs can only do so much. It is the ultimate responsibility of the government to actually take this into consideration and to prioritize it. So we can push, but they really need to incorporate it and actually prioritize it to make sure it is in the forefront of the agenda of schools in terms of ensuring their girl child are well educated in terms of their health challenges, basically.
All right, Rhoda, in a society where that puts a lot of emphasis on the men as against the women, your job is like climbing a steep hill, you know. And when we want to look at this, we are thinking, I'm thinking, how do you get funded to do the things that you do? How do you get the kind of support that you need to get this information to the grassroots where we feel this pain the most?
Okay, thank you. And that's a wonderful question, because a lot of times you might have good ideas, you might have the solution, but you cannot push it out, you cannot implement it without the right kind of support. And it's not just about financial support, it's about having media partners such as TVC who are willing to actually invest in telling the stories. It is about having private organizations that are willing to allocate part of their CSR or part of their profits into investing in building toilets for public schools, into investing in having scholarships for girls to go into ICT, to go into digital technology. It's about everybody playing their part. At Haiti, we've been able to partner with different non-governmental organizations, international organizations, and private institutions to support girls. Next week, we are having our annual Girls Summit.
Okay.
And this summit brings together different stakeholders, from the girls themselves.
Happening in Lagos here?
Lagos here, in partnership with one of our partners, Wema Bank, and our funder, Empower UK. And now they have been consistent in ensuring that girls have the resources that they need. But as Adenroke had said, we can't do this alone. And it's not just the government's responsibility. I think that is where we all dissociate ourselves, because a girl's life starts from the family. So you need to target the family and ensure that at that point...
quickly, so this event is happening in Lagos here.
Yes.
I'm thinking, why are we not taking things like this to the rural areas?
So our PAVE project starts in the rural area, and that's one of the beautiful things about the way we work in Haiti. We work with the girls for the girls. So they are the ones that carry out the solutions. They identify what the problem is, and they design the solutions for themselves. And what we now provide is a platform where they can actually voice out. Everywhere we run a national competition where they get the opportunity to actually tell their stories and tell the parts, the issues that they think is most important to them. And when they come to the summit, they are able to share this with the different partners that are going to be present at the events as well. So we have different stakeholders come and listen to the girls themselves and say, this is what I want you to invest in. I want you to invest in my education. I want you to invest in the health facility that is in my community, so that they are able to provide youth-friendly services to me, that when I go inside the facility, I know that somebody is going to attend to me at my level. And this is what we need to start calling out. And I just want to say that it is very, very important that when we are looking at investment again, it is not just about having money. It's about having the right push, the right interest to say that I am going to use what I have, the platforms I have, to make sure that girls are seen. Just one more thing.
Okay, you want?
Just one more. And I just want to say that in this age that we have digital technology, technology and AI serve as not just a platform for girls to actually get information, but also to influence the narrative as well. So that they can start putting out the right kind of stories about themselves, the right kind of narrative, what they want to see and who they are as individuals and as change makers as well.
That's right. Let me come to Ronke in Abuja, especially because one thing I always try to find out is when you talk about the girl child, one thing comes to my mind. What about the boy child? Because it is in the same environment to find the boy child, the girl child. And then we focus on the challenges facing the girl child alone. What about the boy child? Are we beginning to see quite crises among boys in education, mental health, identity formation, so much so that it affects, the boy child, and then the boy child that is not well trained goes back to contributing wrongly, maybe negatively, to the affairs of the girl child in an environment where girls are already adequately taken care of?
Yes, and that's a very, very good question. Because as you know, there's a saying that a bird cannot fly with one wing. You can't just invest in the girl child and not invest in the boy child. Because we even need boys to know how to behave around girls. Because if boys know how to behave around girls, then that will reduce the gender violence against girls. So it's important that we equip our boys, to make sure they know how to behave themselves. And also, they also need to educationally continue to achieve and aspire to achieve. Because what I've noticed is over the years, the statistics now is looking like girls are outperforming boys. So what is happening to our boys? They are spending their time on games or running after girls. We need to try and refocus our boys to make them focus on their education so that they can achieve in life. So not just focus on the girl child, but also on the boy child. But the reason why there's lots of emphasis on the girl child is because the girl child is playing catch up. Because remember, in those days, and I'm a victim of that, where you have a family of boys and girls, and if there's constraint in terms of the resources which the family has to send children to school, the parents will prefer to send the boy child to school than the girl child. So the girl child is playing catch up. And that is why we are emphasizing on ensuring that we give the girl child access. And in this day and age, it's not just access to education, it's access to digital education. You know, as my court interviewer said, AI is taking over the world. Yeah. How are we equipping our girls? We are having a webinar tomorrow to celebrate the girl child and also to raise digital queens to make sure our girls are in the front line when it comes to digital education. Exactly. Because at the moment, we are behind the curve. There's digital exclusion for our girls. So it's important that we invest in our girls to make sure they are technologically savvy and to make sure they are ready for the workplace in terms of technical education.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think that's a fine place to live with. Thank you so much, Ronke. She joins us from our Abuja studio. Thank you so much for joining us on the show today. We really appreciate your inputs. Thank you so much. But let me come to you, Rhoda, in the studio. She mentioned something, but I think that we've passed that in life. So before, when you hear the fact that when there are opportunities to go to school, the parents will send the boy, then later send the girl. If I'm correct, I think that we've passed that narrative because right now, you know, parents are giving their children equal opportunities. At the end of the day, the education a boy should get is the same education a girl should get because they're not competing against each other, they're complementing each other.
So there are two realities, right? There's our reality in this space where we have access to information, we have access to resources, and there's a reality of the people who have none of this access. And they have to pick and choose what they have to do. And you'll find most of these people in the rural, hard-to-reach communities. In those communities, most parents still have to pick the boys going to school than the girl because if you look at it from their own perspective.
But who even brought about this narrative in the first place? The boy goes to school and the girl will wait. Why?
It's gender roles, because when you look at the gender roles that we have, women are supposed to take care of the family, men are supposed to bring in the resources. When you have an education, you bring in resources. When you stay at home, you learn how to take care of the family. So it is split completely in two. But we are now living in a reality that one income source is not enough. And we have that as a source where we have families where the husband is now using that as economic violence against the woman and kind of limiting her ability to make decisions within the home that she's supposed to be taken care of as well. So you see that when we keep perpetuating this, that women are supposed to only take care of the home and leave all the income earning to the man, you find that you are giving more power to one side and then completely pushing down the other side down, and then you are now limiting the importance and value that person brings to that family.
Which is a lot of value, because if you also look at it, in the world we live in today, a lot of men do not want to marry a liability. They say it. You know, at the end of the day, I don't just want to marry somebody that will sit at home and I'll be bringing the money. At some point, you'll get tired.
Exactly. And then that is when you now start seeing more violence that is coming in, more unrest in the family, and this translates into the children as well, because they learn by seeing, they observe what you do, and when they observe that a woman does not have the voice, the girls also see that, oh, I do not have a voice. So in other words, I am supposed to sit and wait and accept anything that comes to me. But we need to start changing it from that perspective. Start teaching the girls that you do have a voice and your voice matters.
And your voice is loud enough.
It should be loud. When you look at our girls, you will see that they are the ones that are actually making the change. So we, as she said, it's not just working with girls alone, but also making sure that the men and the boys understand that the way society changes, they have to change to adapt as well.
When we fail to do our right, when we fail to do what we're supposed to do, we should be held accountable. Is it the parents, is it the community, or is it the government?
Everybody contributes to raise it. So they say it takes a village to raise a child.
That's right.
So the parents have their roles at home to cater for the child, to provide for the child, to support the child. The community has its own support system that it has to put in place, making sure that the environment and the society is safe for that girl to actually express herself. Not that if she wants to go to school, she has to think about the routes she's going to take so that nobody will accost her on the way. That's the community responsibility to make sure that the environment is safe. Now the government has its own role to ensure that those basic amenities, those infrastructure that needs to be there. Schools have toilets, schools have equal access roads, school has technology that brings information to girls. So everybody, you have your role to play.
Exactly.
You have your role to play. I have my role to play. I have a role to play to speak up for girls that do not have that voice yet, to train them. And
what a beautiful conversation. You know, we can go on and on with this, but thank you so much, Rhoda Robertson. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed this conversation. At the end of the day, a lady has a voice, has a power, and she definitely has to use it. But still ahead on TVC Breakfast, Professor Joash Amupitan takes charge as INEC new chairman, the spotlight is now on credibility, confidence, and change. Stay with us for this conversation.